Hey, welcome to episode number 12, the Paranormal Trucker. I am Prime Time. No, that's not right. I'm the Paranormal Trucker, PT for short. With me today is Snowman and Large Marge, as always, from their
Hey,
recliners in their studio. The convoy is live. How are you guys doing today?
God, doing pretty good.
Honk honk.
How's the week been?
Uh, it was an interesting weekend. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and we're gonna go into that a little more as we get going.
Washer's still broke. We
Yeah.
still don't
Doing
have
that?
a washing machine.
Yeah, the washer's still down.
The dilemma of the washing machine.
You guys are just walking around in your nasty clothes, ain't you?
That's it.
Yeah, well,
Disgusting.
I'm washing them on the creek and the rocks.
yeah.
letting them air dry.
Let them air dry.
That's
Yeah,
it.
good thing she's part Indian and part related to Daniel Boone.
That's right.
And
I'm a survivor.
and family from Floyd County.
Country girl can survive.
Good. All right. So we were supposed to do a Halloween special, and we did a Halloween special. Unfortunately,
Yes, we did.
that Halloween special will never see the light of day.
Never.
It went real bad, real quick.
Well, it
Now there
went
may
pretty
be
good.
some instances where we share a few clips here and there of that show, but we had some audio issues as well as some Jim Beam issues, as
Yeah,
well as some
Jim Beam
belligerent
dropped
drunk
by.
issues. It was not a good event. And I fully understood everybody as we were talking Saturday night, I went back and listened to it yesterday and was trying to do a little editing and things, and it was essentially just a bunch of yelling and I have no idea what anybody was talking about.
It was a fine party.
Yeah.
But what was your all's take on the events from Saturday night?
Well, I thought everything went good. It's like
For
I
a
said,
while.
once Jim Beam showed up,
Then it got off
it
the
kinda
rail.
went downhill.
We did talk about a lot of interesting subjects that
Oh,
we're
yeah.
going to revisit.
Yeah.
Yes.
That there was a lot of interesting stuff. Now, our guests for that night were Rubber Ducky and what was his Iroquois Pliskin.
Yes.
And Iroquois Pliskin is my brother and Snowman's son. He is a terrific person. Smart as it's probably one of the smartest men I've ever met in my life. But things got a little weird Saturday night, and it took a turn. So we didn't. We're probably not going to talk much about that. Like I said, some clips may make it into later shows. Unfortunately, the Halloween special will not be aired in its entirety on this channel.
Boo.
Well, it's probably a good thing.
It is. There's far too many.
Get it? Boo.
Halloween. Right?
Come on.
There were far too many.
Celebrate.
Far too many offensive comments. Now, for me to say they were offensive, that's pretty outstanding. So we're not going to talk about any of those. And of course, they were just jokes amongst family members, calling each other's names and things like that. But some people may take offense to that. So we're not going to be airing any of that. And there were a lot of F-bombs dropped. I don't have enough bleeps in my computer to bleep them all out.
We bombed a few battleships.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was bad.
It was very bad.
So you keep telling everybody this, and then everybody's going to be right in going, well, we want to see it now.
Yeah.
Nope. We listen. We're not shock jocks on this channel. We don't do the.
But we can be.
We can be, but that would require us to have a whole different audience. And I
That's
like
not what we're here for.
I like the audience and fan base that we have. Though it's a small fan base, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we have fans by any means, but our listeners. we have a great group of listeners, even though they're a small group of listeners. I don't want to lose those people. They've been with us since the beginning, and some of them have even followed me from my previous podcasting days. But I don't know. Saturday night was it just won't be professionally. I can't let that happen. I can't understand you when you're talking.
I said, we'll just say it was a full moon Saturday night and all the weirdos come out.
Mhm.
So we'll keep that. We'll keep that.
Was there a full moon?
No,
Oh, okay.
we're just gonna say there.
Oh, we're going to say, okay.
Yeah. So unfortunately, again, we apologize for there not being a full Halloween special. Snippets will be brought in because there was some actual intelligent conversation in between the
In
rating.
between the obscenities.
Yeah, in between the obscenities and the berating of each other. But you know, again, it's just I apologize. It's not going to make it. Some of the snippets may make it, but most of that show will never see the light of day, unfortunately.
You know what it'll have to be? After
What?
we've done this for a year, we'll use it and say Paranormal Trucker, too hot for YouTube.
Oh
And
no,
we'll put out a special show.
it's too hot. It's too
PG
hot.
no fly.
Yeah.
It's too hot for the internet right now with the way the
Too
PC
hot
plays
for the
on everything.
internet.
We will be cancel cultured in a second.
Maybe.
Not me. I refuse.
You refuse? You're not going away?
We're not.
Not me.
Well, like I said, I just don't want to offend the listeners that we have right now. I like our group of listeners. We're not shock jocks.
No, we love our listeners.
Yes.
We're not shock jocks, and I don't feel like those our listeners would appreciate the language that was brought out that night. And you know, we're just going to respect we're just going to respect a lot of our listeners and just not bring that about.
Okay.
That sounds good.
That was an awful long monologue there.
I know, right? Okay, let's get the stories.
I really feel bad about not having not doing this, not being able to use the Halloween special, but again, it is what it is. So we'll just talk about the stories that we had for the Halloween special. We'll try not to repeat Saturday nights.
Maybe we
Crazy.
can try this again at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm starting to learn that anytime that our family gets together, it is not good. It's not good for intelligent conversation. The one good thing that did come out of it, the police didn't get called Saturday night, so that's good.
No, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, it was a good time.
That's right.
So I have a story here from 106.5 DX down in Charlotte, North Carolina. It says NBC Nightly News catches a UFO on camera during a story about the Navajo Indians. The Southwest is a hotbed for UFO activity. It's where Roswell is, as well as the site of the infamous Area 51, where the government is rumored to house extraterrestrial crafts. There have been plenty of sightings in Arizona, New Mexico, and Nevada, and this week one was caught on camera, but not just any camera, a camera belonging to NBC Nightly News. Reporter Cynthia McFadden was taking a close look at the water crisis in Arizona's Navajo Nation is currently facing during the pandemic. And as cameras rolled on Native Americans playing instruments and singing, an unidentified disc-shaped object can be seen high above them, bursting through clouds and flying across the sky. Now, this video, and you can see it on YouTube. NBC, it's under UFO hits NBC's Evening News, is where you can find it on YouTube. This video shows what looks like a silver craft come out of a cloud and streak across the sky, and it was captured live. Essentially, what blows my mind is this craft actually moved the cloud. It looked like you could see the exit vapors from the cloud. Now the point was brought up on Saturday night that have you ever seen an aircraft break the sound barrier? Of course I have, and it is a very distinct shape, a very diagonal, hard angle shape on the aircraft. This does not have any of that it appears to me. Now, while it could be a plane, there the way it rips through the clouds make it seems like it might be something else. You can watch it happen in the actual NBC News story below. Navajo Nation battles water crisis at the 246 mark. If you doubt that it could be some kind of otherworldly craft, remember that last month the government essentially announced that UFOs exist and that there is even a Navy task force designated to investigating them. In fact, after a former member of that task force revealed to Congress that they found off-world vehicles not made on this earth, the Senate has asked for more information, which means those classified reports might very well become public soon. Now, we didn't talk about any of that. That is exactly right. Essentially, they said that they have found craft that's not of this world, and nobody seems to care.
Well, no, they've got too many distractions right now. When they released that, it was at the height of COVID, and you couldn't turn the TV on when it wasn't 24/7 of how bad things were. So they released it, and nobody paid any attention to it.
I think they quieten a lot of those stories. They just seem to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But if you'll notice if you've noticed any of the paranormal shows that are on TV right now or whatever, they play those videos to death. They've analyzed them. They've done everything they can do with footage, and it's quiet. But they're not making a big deal of it.
Right.
You would think that this would have been, oh my God, no, but to keep panic down, they didn't say that they were alien craft. They just said they didn't know where they come from, leaving it open that it could be the Russians, the Chinese, or whoever else is advanced enough to have.
Well, and see, I don't really believe that. I believe that Russia has the capability, but their aircraft have always been more
Intentional.
well, and they're very traditional and very abrasive. They're not streamlined or very they're aerodynamic, don't get me wrong, but they're not very streamlined or futuristic. They're very traditional, a lot of traditional lines, even their new fighters and bombers and things like that, even their new craft that come out, they're very, very abrasive edges.
Yeah.
The Chinese usually copy someone else's. I'm sorry to say that, but they usually copy someone else's design. And none of these craft that I've seen lately or recently appear to resemble anything that looks Eastern European or Asian.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm saying. They just said that they didn't know who they belonged to.
Right.
But they weren't ours. But who knows? I'm sure black projects, they could actually be ours.
It's possible. Yeah, of course it is. It's absolutely possible. I mean, when the B-2 bomber and the this F-117 were in development, those aircraft were flying around the desert and nobody knew what they were.
Yeah.
And they were flying around the desert for 10, 15, 20 years before they were even acknowledged that they existed.
Yeah, the F-117 was nearing its retirement age when they acknowledged it.
Yeah, it was built in the 70s and wasn't even acknowledged. It wasn't even acknowledged until the early 90s.
Yes, and then they actually used it in combat on a few
Oh,
occasions.
Yeah, I guess it would be the late 80s because it was in Desert Storm, right?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, so it would have had to been the late 80s, right at 90.
Right.
And the B-2 wasn't really acknowledged until the early 90s, maybe mid
I think
90s.
it was 89.
89, okay. So it was late 80s, early 90s. So I mean, these crafts are built, in the 70s and acknowledged 20 years later. And even the B-2, though, its design is possible that it came up with in World War II in a completely different country.
Actually, Jack Northrop had a design for a flying wing back in the 30s.
Yeah.
But the government said, no, it won't work. It won't work. They didn't want to fool with it. They wanted a traditional airplane. And after the war, he, oh my gosh, what do they call it? He built a couple of test bombers, and one of them, the first one was propeller driven, and then they actually put some jet engines on it as a test vehicle. And I'll tell you, a pretty cool place you can actually see it fly is on the War of the Worlds from the 1950s or whenever it was made, the original George Powell. They actually used the jet bomber in that film.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. You actually got to see it fly, or see film of it flying.
Yeah, that is
And,
pretty cool.
But they scrapped the program, destroyed all those flying wings, and then when the B-2 came out, it was the exact dimensions of those wings.
Yeah.
So they didn't. All they did was just kind of change the design and make it a little stealthier, and basically it's the same plane, or as far as the design of it. Let's put it that way.
Right. And what's interesting about the B2 also is that, of course, this is coming from the book that we've been reading, and we'll talk a little more about that because I've started recently listening on Audible to the second book, and of course we're going to go deep into that probably starting next week. I would say start into the second book, but from the first book. Oh, by the way, our books have shipped. Our hard copies have shipped from the first book, so we can highlight. They should be here next week. So
Okay, that'd be good.
we can highlight and take notes and do whatever. But according to the first book, the B2 actually doesn't have enough power with their traditional engines that are on that aircraft to make the speeds, or even it has barely enough power to take off. It doesn't have enough speed to even get to where it needs to be, cruising altitude or cruising speed or whatever. So they speculate that, well, of course, according to the book, they say that craft actually has a combination of traditional jet engines as well as what they call it, anti-gravitic,
Anti-gravitic, which is
anti-gravitic technology on it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be, you basically have those charges on the front and back, and they push away from each other, and
Right.
so it helps with the lift and all that.
Yeah, essentially you have one charge on the front that is always traveling away from the charge on the rear, and the rear charge is always attracted to the charge on the front, so it's constantly moving. Now, how to regulate that speed, I don't know how they do that, but because it would seem like you would keep going and going and going until in atmosphere it would tear the craft apart, I would think, right?
You would think so, but maybe it's just how much juice you send to it.
Yeah, no, like I say, I don't know how they regulate that speed. Have to be something like that.
Well, then you would imagine that would probably take a lot of energy.
Hmm.
What is generating that energy? The jet engines aren't going to be probably strong enough to turn a generator to create the power they would need.
You wouldn't think so. No, I mean, if from what they say is true, those jet engines are taxed. I mean, already maxed out, just trying to get that heavy ass thing up off the ground.
Well, and that they also, and they say this in the book, and the author backs it up with some statistics. Usually, when you get a combat airplane over its life, by them adding new systems to it or whatever, it gets heavier.
Yeah.
The B2 now is lighter than it was when it first came out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, even your cell phones have gotten smaller from the 80s. They got to the point where they were tiny, and now they're starting to get a little bigger. But it's
I like the bigger ones. I can see the screen.
Well, I like the bigger ones too. I barely use my laptop ever. I use this phone more than I use anything. So moving forward, again, like I said, next week we're probably going to start into our second book. We're going to start digging into that. Um, and then that will give us some time to go through the first book again once we have our hard copies, and we can talk about, a little bit here and there of the different things. But these books are insane. I can't recommend them enough. Dr. Michael Sala has done an incredible job at capturing the 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 insiders, the how they reveal what's going on and how it's going on. And I can't recommend these books enough. There's 6 books. Where I'm on book number 2. I think Snowman, you're what, up to like book
I've already I
3?
listened to 3 the other day.
Okay, so he's a little ahead of me. Of course, he spends a lot more time on the road nowadays than I do, which is odd. Since I'm a truck driver and he's a contractor. You would think that it'd be the other way around, but it's not. Um, so we're going to keep going here. Do you guys have any more UFO unexplained stories, news segments, anything?
No,
No.
I haven't really seen anything, but Saturday night we had a lively debate over a star that
Wasn't a star.
I believe it was a star.
Well, uh, we pulled up his app, and he couldn't find it on the app.
Yeah.
But he says it was a star, but I didn't see it on the app.
See, I saw the same thing a few months ago, and I saw it 2 nights in a row, and it was in the same spot every night that I saw it, and it was flashing red, green, yellow. Well, I pulled up an app. I think it's called Star Walk, which you just hold your phone up
I have
and
Star Walk.
and it will tell you the stars, so you can just, as you move the phone around, it'll show. And it was, what I was seeing was a star, but
Yeah.
just because of where it's set on the atmosphere, I guess instead of right straight over top, it was off on the horizon. So it had, and the Earth is curved, so the atmosphere is curved as well, and that may have caused just the light coming through may have caused.
Well, not if you think the Earth is flat.
Well, I'm not a flat earther.
Now I've seen this. I'm going to call it a craft because I seen the same thing flashing the same lights, but it was overhead, wasn't moving. It hovered for a while, and then it started kind of zigzagging and going around in circles. Looked off to the distance, and there was another one, and they were flashing and changing lights, kind of at the same in a pattern.
Yeah.
And so it was very to me that speaks to me as some sort of intelligent craft. Doesn't seem to be just a normal phenomenon.
Well, like I said, the first night I saw it, it was weird, and when I saw it again, it's the same spot. I said, "Yeah, that might be it." That's when I pulled the app out.
It's possible, yeah.
And it was,
And it, not only is it possible, it's probably more probable than me wanting to reach for it being a UFO. But what I saw in Pikeville that one night, I'm pretty sure I'm almost willing to bet money that it was some sort of craft.
yeah, you don't have to worry about losing that bet. How you gonna prove it?
Exactly. So I'm always a winner.
There you go.
All righty. So I had 3 other news stories that I was going to bring up on Saturday, that I did bring up on Saturday, and we talked about, and they were 3 stories that happened in Kentucky over the last couple of weeks that are a little out there, and so they're not paranormal related, so to speak. They might be a little druggy related. So I'm going to call this segment WTH Kentucky. So you guys can figure out what WTH stands for. So this from the New York Post: a kangaroo named Scooby-Doo stolen from Kentucky farm. Scooby-Doo the kangaroo, where are you? The owner of a 10-month-old marsupial named after the iconic cartoon character says someone broke into the baby kangaroo stall after closing time and stole him on Sunday from Hillview Stables in London, Kentucky. Yeah, he's still gone. An exasperated Angie Smith told the Post early Wednesday, "We've had a few calls and got some messages, but it's not him." Smith, who runs Hillview Stable, said someone crept into the property after 8 p.m. Sunday and stole her beloved Scooby Doo from an indoor stall along, along with a custom pouch he sleeps in. Somebody took him in the middle of the night, Smith said. Somebody came back after we closed and took him. Smith reported the theft to Laurel County Sheriff's Office, which relayed information to the state police, but she has had no leads of early Wednesday, and time is crucial due to Scooby-Doo's urgent need for special milk procured from a supplier in Michigan. Without the high-fat content milk, he may die within days, Smith said. He'll get dehydrated, he'll get diarrhea, and he could possibly make it without it, but he's not going to grow right. He needs to have the right kind of minerals in his body. So that's the first story we're going to talk about. Somebody stole a kangaroo in Kentucky.
I think that's the most evil thing in the world.
Yes, shame
I
on
agree.
Shame on them. And I hope they find them, and I hope they go to jail. That's terrible.
I hope so too. Now, let's see. The second story, and I'm going to say the best for last. The second story happened actually. Now, it's interesting. All of these stories happened within about an hour of each other. The first one happened in Laurel County. The second one happened in Hazard, and then I think the third one happened in Corbin. So this is all within about an hour of each other. Am I correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
All
Yeah.
right. So this one from the
London.
do what?
Laurel County is London, right?
Yes.
Right.
London's in-
Yeah.
Right.
So USA Today reports annoyed locals rally around Kentucky school. Oh, gosh, come on. These ads are killing me. Come on. USA Today, an attack on tradition. Annoyed locals rallying around Kentucky school after lap dance photos go viral. Hazard, Kentucky it was an event that once would have barely made the news outside of the school gymnasium, much less travel beyond the 4,900 resident Appalachian mountain town. But within hours of Hazard High School's homecoming quote unquote man pageant, where male students dressed in women's undergarments appeared to lap dance on ground on seated school leaders, the photos hit social media. By the next day, they had gone viral, sparking outrage that turned into derisive national spotlight on this Kentucky community like never before. Images that included Principal Donald Happy Mobilini, who is also Hazard's mayor, smiling with half-clad students danced suggestively, and young women dressed as Hooters waitresses drew condemnation from legions of social media users. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear called it totally unacceptable, and an investigation was launched, and the resulting media coverage stretched all the way to the British tabloid. The scope of the reaction shocked many in the tight-knit conservative Hazard, whose red brick downtown famed by mountains was once a hub of now depleted Appalachian coalfield. The Appalachian coalfield is not depleted. The EPA just kind of shut us down for whatever Obama was thinking at the time. Again, Paranormal Trucker does not. These are my opinions. I'm not trying to press anybody else. Not pushing any opinions on anyone else. But if you live away from the Appalachian coalfields, don't tell us that we're ruining the world when you have smog in your city. Chill out.
Yeah.
Amen.
Standing up. I'm standing up for my economy.
You go. Well, an update on the story you just told.
Sure.
The official announcement today on the news was that they have been reprimanded.
Oh, reprimanded.
Happy Mobilini, and then there's two other teachers that are involved in it.
Now, what does reprimanded mean? That they lose their jobs or just reprimanded?
That's what they said on the news.
No,
They have
I
been
think they
reprimanded. I think by the state.
probably just slapped them,
Fine.
maybe got my little fine or
Sensitivity
something.
training.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they do have to take sensitivity training.
Mhm.
Well, now I'll be honest with you. I was a teenager, probably not. I mean, not that long ago. Maybe 20 years ago, maybe.
Well, this was an embarrassment. These pictures are an embarrassment.
Yeah, but
It's fun dressing up and stuff, but they let it go to a point where these boys were dressed in scantily clad string bikinis, and they were twerking on the front of Happy Mobilini and the other teachers, and they were taking pictures. It was just awful.
Right. And what I was getting at is, I was a teenager not that long ago, and I know that um, teenagers come up and do very stupid things. That's the point of them being in school, so that they can be taught by adults to not do socially unacceptable things like um, grinding and lap
Well, this is
dancing on a
something that
school
happened.
administrators with cameras going everywhere, especially in this day and age where everyone has a camera and someone's going to take a picture and somebody is going to see it and put it out
Yep.
there. You're going to get someone in trouble when you do that. And don't get me wrong, this is entirely unacceptable. I don't agree with any of this. Use better judgment. Those
Yeah.
teachers who were standing by the side and did and said nothing, so it should have been like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Maybe we should change it up a little bit. Yes, we should have some sort of. I'm not sure what kind of event that was. If it was like a pep rally or
This
what,
is
but
something evidently that is an annual event.
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean,
They
is it a pep rally or what was it?
It's like before their homecoming, I
Your
think. Wasn't
homecoming, yeah. It's
So
just
it's,
they go in the gym and all the schools in there and stuff, and the boys all dress up like girls. Well, they let them go too far.
Yeah, they just got a little out of hand. They should have slowed it down. I mean, don't get me wrong. Stuff like that is fun for the kids. To get out
yeah,
there and have a little fun. It's not all about learning. You have to you got to have a little release. You know,
I
and
absolutely agree.
but like I said, it went too far, and that should have they should have stopped that real fast.
Yeah, that's something that should never have been allowed to happen. And yes, and maybe it snuck up on them. Maybe it was one of those things where it was, you know, one student did it, and it was like, oh, okay, we got to stop. But I don't think they even tried to stop it, did they?
No,
I don't think so.
no,
So,
because it was the next day they posted the pictures the kids did on their Facebook,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
and that's how it came to light. One
Hmm.
of the parents evidently got pissed off about it and did something about it, I guess.
Yeah, and I'd be a little pissed off about that myself. But also, I didn't really hear much about the teenage girls in the Hooters outfits holding what looked like beer mugs. That's and that kind of promoting underage drinking as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's not something you would want kids to be doing.
I mean, don't get me wrong, teenagers are stupid. That they are. It's just a fact of life. Uh, if they weren't stupid, they wouldn't be still being taught how to function in society. It's
Right.
That's why you have public school systems, because you have to be taught how to do certain things, and that's how our society works. These kids aren't ready for that yet. I mean, eventually they
They
will
had a
be.
big, huge rally for him downtown, and half a hazard showed up.
Yeah.
So they're all behind his back. So,
Yeah.
but it was offensive,
Now, if you're
in this
asking
day,
me,
especially in this day and age. I grew up in the '60s and '70s. It would have been funny, but this day and age with cancel culture and everything, everybody being offended by everything,
Yes.
it went too far, and
right?
they should have known that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean,
They just
teachers
pulled the
are
plug at the twerking.
teachers are
That's
one of teachers are one of the most scrutinized fields because they're dealing with children. Now, are you asking me if I think that Happy Mobilini was being real pervy and enjoying it? No, I think it was students who are dumb, who do stupid things for a joke, to laugh. Yes, but there is a time and a place to have humor. That is not one of them when you include an adult, especially an adult that is a politician. You don't do that.
Yeah. Well, and he's got double duty. He's the school principal.
Yeah, exactly.
So
right.
you know, there again, he probably should have said, "Hey, stop. That's enough."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, that there you go. That's kind of one of those things, like Marge said, in the 60s and 70s, that would have been funny.
It would have
And
been fun.
maybe that was his mindset. Hey, this is what kids do. It is kind of fun. But do I think that he was, you know, enjoying it in a pervy sort of way? Of course not. No, of course not.
No.
That's not what I'm saying. But I do believe that,
No.
like she said, to her point, in this day and age, you have to really be careful what you let out and what you allow to happen for a joke, because there's a lot of people who don't take it as a joke.
Right.
Yeah. Well, everybody now gets offended over everything. I mean, you can't go out and say anything what you ain't hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
Me, I'm just like, okay, whatever. I'm just thinking somebody needs to be powdered or whatever and go on with their life, let it ride. It's not that big a deal.
You're right. It's not that big of a deal. But the the way our country and our civilization has came about over the last, I'm going to say, probably 20 years, 30 years. And I don't know if there's if there is a scientific reason for it, or if it's just a nurture versus nature kind of thing. I'm not really sure, but we have become a lot more sensitive as a species, or as a civilization.
Well, you just got
Case in point. Case in
this
point.
is
Case in
mine
point. We're not using Saturday night's event. You know
No,
what I mean?
well, but this is my, I just kind of looked at it, and this is just me thinking out loud, and I hope I don't piss anybody off, but you had back in the 60s, 70s, you had the hippie movement, love, peace, and all this. Well, after they got a little older, they became teachers or they had children of their own. They taught their kids this view of life, okay? And so then it goes on a little farther, and their kids have kids, they become teachers, working in universities, things like that. And now they've got a huge audience that, it's kind of like an indoctrination.
Well,
you know?
I believe I agree with what you're saying to an extent, but in the 60s and 70s, the ones there were a lot of people, and even still, yeah, there are a lot of people who, why can't we just get along? Why can't we just be happy and work together and do this, blah blah blah. I agree with that. I think we should get along with each other. However, you have a lot of we'll say kamikaze hippies, where they simply want to just start a fight or martyr themselves for whatever cause that, well, hey, I just wanted to show you that these people are bad, so I'm gonna get arrested, I'm gonna get put on the news, I'm gonna beat up, I'm gonna get I'm the system is failing, the government sucks, so I'm gonna hit this guy in the head with a skateboard. That's the kind of mentality we have now.
Right.
And it's very scary.
Well, and that's what I always told you with, something's going wrong that you don't like, you got to say something about it and keep on and on and on, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Well, you're right, but
And
at the same
they,
time, these
but there's a time and place for it, but they're using this as an agenda to get what they want.
well, what kind of my point is, they've come full circle. And you have a military or a militarized version of the hippies, where they're using skateboards and rocks to beat up people in the street during protests because they want to make a point. And you can't be love and peace and turn to violence to try to get that. That's stupid. You are an idiot. You are an idiot if you're doing that.
Point that finger at me.
Whoever's listening, you all.
But
It just drives me crazy. I watched the protests from last year, the BLM, the Antifa, the Biden protest, the Trump protest, the whatever. Everybody had a protest last year, and there was one common denominator. You had a lot of people who were trying to be peaceful over here, and then you had idiots over here in the street who were beating people up with a skateboard. Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop it.
Well, and a few years ago, the Nazi Party had a rally in Pike,
I do remember that. Yeah.
and this is you think the Nazi Party is evil, and they have some pretty
The Nazis are bad.
bad beliefs. Okay,
The Nazis are bad.
but Antifa came to protest the Nazis, and the Nazis were well behaved.
Right.
They stayed. They gave their speech. Whatever. Antifa was just. They were all over the place.
Again, that's my point. You have this group who want
And they
to
don't do
protest,
anything to them.
who want to protest everything. And to me, they should honestly be listed as a terrorist organization,
Yeah,
because
well,
when they show up, people get hurt.
yes, and the one thing that impressed me the most about that rally was and I don't know if he's a priest or what they call it, but he's the resident religious guy at UPI. He
Yeah.
came down with his robes and actually went up and was talking to them, trying to talk to the Nazis and about their beliefs and things like that. And kudos to him. You change it one person at a time if you can. And but that was the one thing that really impressed me. He braved that the idiots across the street to go through to actually speak to them and try to give his message of love and peace. And and the people he talked to, they were well behaved. They were respectful too.
Yeah.
But I just I thought that was, for me, that was probably the best part of the whole day.
Right.
He was trying to change things, one person at a time. That's all you can do.
Yeah, that's all you can do. But
And I fully believe if he
That's a hero.
I fully believe if he would have went back across the street and tried to talk the same thing to the Antifa people, he would have been on the ground.
Yeah. Antifa is a bunch of thugs, and they should be listed as a terrorist organization and be treated as such.
Well, do you actually know where Antifa started?
Democratic Party.
No, it was in Russia
Oh, really?
before the Bolshevik Revolution.
The
Oh,
anarchists.
Yes, that's where that started. And
So
BLM is kind of the same thing. It's a Marxist,
Yeah.
founded on Marxism, and
Right.
that's not
I
the way
said-
we do it.
I said the Democratic Party, and I was so proud of that answer. But no, what so last year I was watching the riots, and one in particular event caught my attention. There was a guy that was driving his pickup truck, was just trying to go home, and was kind of driving by this riot, Antifa members, I'm sure. They stopped his truck somehow, I guess because he didn't want to run them over. They pulled him out of his truck, beat him to death, and left him on the ground. And
Yes.
that brings back it's a very graphic video.
He's under the road.
Yeah, it's a very graphic video, but that kind of goes back to what I'm saying about with these skateboards. They use those skateboards as weapons, and
Yeah.
those things can cause a lot of damage if you hit
Oh,
someone in
God.
the head with them. And they do. That's where they're aiming for. So they're trying to kill these people.
Yeah, if you turn it sideways, that's a weapon.
Sure, it is.
you
But
know?
it brought back from the 1992 LA riots. Brought back memories from Reginald Denny, the truck driver who was just trying to do his job, got
Yeah.
stopped at an intersection, and they beat the mortal living piss out of him and left him laying in the street.
Yeah, and I remember the video, and I mean, one of them took a brick.
Yes, they tried to kill him.
And hit him in the head.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there, oh my gosh, that's not right. That's not the way we need to treat people.
No,
what?
and they
How
were
did you
trying to
get
kill
to
him.
not to change the subject matter, but talking about truckers, remember the sniper that was in Washington D.C. that was shooting people from the
Yeah.
trunk?
Yes.
Him, Moab and something. Those two. It was an older guy and a younger kid.
Yeah.
Well, they were spotted by a truck driver, and that's how they were called. And that truck driver happens to be from the little town I grew up in.
Oh,
His name
really?
was Ronald Lance. Yeah, he was a truck driver, and he actually saw them on his route and reported them,
Wow.
and led to their arrest.
See, truck drivers, we're not bad. We don't try to hog the lanes. We do good.
Well, I heard
As long as y'all stay out of the left lane, I'm okay.
Hey, listen, we got to pass people too.
Get the hell over.
yeah, I remember hearing a story about you going to rescue a woman in McDonald's one time.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. Where was I? I was in Indiana somewhere, I think. It was up northern Indiana, somewhere where they do all the where they build all the campers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I had run out of hours, so I pulled off at this little truck stop, and there was a McDonald's across the street. So I walked across the street to this McDonald's, and I'm standing in line, and I wanted to. There was an interview on the radio that I wanted to listen to, so I had like 15 minutes before it started. So I wanted to get over there and get my burger and get back. Got over there, and standing in line there, and this guy who's an employee is kind of cleaning tables, and the manager keeps telling him, "Hey, go home." I assume they fired him because he was doing something stupid or whatever. He just stops, goes back behind the counter, and starts swinging. Now, keep in mind, all of these manager ladies, they're ladies. I don't think I've seen one male employee back there that night. And he's like swinging, hitting hard as he can. And I ran behind the counter because nobody else was doing anything. I ran behind the counter and I grabbed him with everything I had in him and I threw him to the ground, and then I set my big ass right on top of it. I said, "You ain't going nowhere now, are you, pal?"
So
I
you
held him
saved
there.
the day.
Yeah, I held him there till the cops came and got him. Yeah, I got a
Good
free
for
cheese,
you.
I got a free cheeseburger out of it, and I missed my interview, so I was not very happy about it. But it happened. But at least I wasn't in the left lane. But so we'll change the subject. That's enough ranting for this topic. But just know where we stand. That Antifa, you guys are dicks. A Corbin,
Asses.
huh?
She said asses.
Oh
Asses.
yeah, exactly. All right, so this is my final and favorite story from What the Hell Kentucky. This is from Lex 18's the news agencies there in Lexington, Kentucky. It says the Corbin woman allegedly stabs cousin after getting into an argument over a sex toy. A Corbin woman is facing several charges, including second-degree assault, after she allegedly stabbed her cousin following an argument over a sex toy. According to an arrest citation, an officer was dispatched to Mitchell Hill Road on Saturday afternoon in reference to a stabbing. It states Crystal Denham called 911 stating she stabbed her cousin, Michael Barton, who is also her neighbor. Denham was sweeping the porch when an officer arrived to the scene. Denham told the officer Barton came to her home and they got into an argument over the sex toy. She borrowed it. And he said he wanted it back.
Oh, that's nasty. That's like putting on dirty underwear. Oh.
Citation says she told him to get off her property, and when he grabbed her by the elbow, she used the kitchen knife she was holding in her hand to stab him. Barton's injuries were considered minor and he refused medical treatment. He told the officer Denham began acting crazy and she stabbed him. When the officer told Denham she was under arrest, the citation says Denham started to yell and said she wasn't going to jail. The officer pulled out a taser, and according to the citation, she formed a fist with each of her hands, bladed her body in a fighting stance, swelled her chest out, and began approaching the officer. The officer stepped to the side and pushed Denham to where she became compliant and placed under arrest. Denham was charged with second-degree assault, second-degree disorderly conduct, menacing, and resisting arrest.
All
I
that
have,
over a dildo.
I have never laughed so hard in all my life.
Guess that gives a new meaning. to
God,
kiss and
3
tell,
of
don't
them
it?
down here. 3 flipping crazy ass stories down here.
Now, why? I mean, that damn thing must be lined in gold. Why would you fight? Why would you stab someone over a sex toy?
Yeah.
And first of all, why would you be sharing it with your
Yeah.
cousin?
Hey.
Oh my God.
Bobby, let me borrow that sex toy you got.
Hey, baby, can I have
I got
sex
an
toy?
itch that's needing took care of.
Hey, Steve, see, I got a little itch I need to scratch. You know what I'm saying? You got that thing I can borrow? Yeah, okay.
Next.
I'll trade you a Snickers bar. I mean, I've never in my life.
Oh,
Oh,
well,
that's tough.
That's horrible. And I'm embarrassed to say that it's all down here within an hour.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Kentucky's really shining this week. Uh,
Yeah.
well, that's about going to do it for episode 12 of Paranormal Trucker.
Well, there's something else we need to talk about.
You got some more stuff.
Something that was brought up Saturday.
Okay.
And we started talking about odd stuff, and the topic was brought up about not deer.
Okay.
Now, I had never heard of that,
I hadn't heard of it either.
and so I did a little research on it. And you know, evidently in Virginia they see it a lot, but and the deer aren't acting right. They're real jerky with their motions. That some of them are walking on their hind legs. They said some of the reports that they had hands instead of hooves. And the scientists and stuff, they've been kind of studying. They think it's a brain disease that the deer have, kind of like mad cow. But I don't know. You would think if it was a disease that would have been sweeping through here like the blue tongue did last year or year before last.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, we're literally
Right on the Virginia border.
Yeah, I mean, we're literally like 35, 40 minutes from the Virginia border.
Yeah.
It's very strange. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. I'd never heard of not deer. I've heard of skinwalkers and the wendigos, but apparently the not deer is in the same category. Is that correct?
Yes. And
Can you imagine being out there deer hunting and all of a sudden a fucking big buck walks up to you? Hey, Jim,
on his hind leg there.
on his hind leg.
No, I can't imagine being in the woods by myself for any reason.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, no, the woods are pretty cool.
It's neat.
When
I
I
love
was
to go
younger,
deer
I
hunting.
stayed in the hills all the time.
Oh, I love
No,
to be in the woods by
they're not that fun. I assure you.
myself.
Terrible place to be.
I love to be in the woods by myself.
The woods are a fun place, but
Well, and I guess that's why I live where I do, and you guys live where you do.
yeah. Well,
Yes.
I mean, back when I was growing up, we didn't have coyotes around
Yeah.
here, but now, now they're everywhere.
Now, coyote is something that really does terrify me because they hunt in packs and they will take down a full grown man.
Yeah.
So anytime you go into the woods or anytime I'm up at the lot that I work
Take
at,
pistol with you.
yeah, I have some sort of protection with me because
Yes.
we're right in the middle of the wilderness here where we're at.
Well, and back, well, gosh, it's after that '77 flood in over the Pikeville. I mean, that was a bad flood. And there was a lot of dogs got displaced away from their homes because of the high water.
Mm-hmm.
They started running in packs.
Yeah.
And they went feral and so it was like you got a pack of wolves. You'd have a collie and a dachshund and whatever trying to run you down and eat your ass.
And don't forget about the coy wolves.
Yes.
The what?
They've actually infiltrated in Kentucky. The coy wolves.
Well, what is that?
Hybrid. It's a hybrid wolf coyote mix. Yeah, and they look like a wolf. They're big.
Well, you know, and that could have been what we saw out
Right.
here.
We
'Cause
saw something
it
in
was
our
huge.
yard that was, well, we talked about it in previous.
Yes, it
show.
was huge. That
I
was.
was,
He's as big as the Great Dane.
Well, that's terrifying.
Big as the Great
yes.
Dane.
Only fluffier, and his tail was real furry.
And the body was filled
Bigger.
out. He was a bigger animal. And we've seen tracks
Up
you know,
here that we can't explain.
that we can't explain.
Big
They're
balls.
they're big. I mean, big paws. About like I said, once we got the Great Dane, his was probably pretty close to him, but I think those were bigger.
Yeah.
They were.
Again,
It was huge animal.
the wilderness is scary. The woods are scary. I hate them.
I
Hate
love
everything about them.
Love them, love them.
Stupid
love
trees. Tear them all down and make a parking lot.
Oh no! You're gonna get haters now.
Oh, I know it. I'm a truck
You're gonna
driver
get
though.
like crazy.
Listen, I'm a truck driver. We need more parking.
Oh gosh.
Well, that's going to do it for
Stay out
episode.
of left lane.
That's going to that's going to do it for episode 12 of the Paranormal Trucker. Don't forget to enter our contest. Send us in your spooky stories, your unexplained stories, scary, whatever. By December 31st at midnight, the contest will end. First prize, $100 gift card to Amazon or Walmart. Trucker hat and keychain, which by the way, the keychains came in. I just don't have them handy with me right now to show you. Second prize is a hat and a keychain. Third prize is just a keychain. Now, I'd say just a keychain, but they're pretty daggone cool.
They're awesome looking.
Yeah, I think they're cool.
Oh,
Yeah, I like them. Now, yeah. Now we'll continue our story, or we'll continue our investigation, or not investigation. We'll continue our review of Dr. Michael Sala's books next week, where we'll start talking about the second book. Guys, don't forget to visit our friends over at the Spooky Family Podcast, Elliot and his Spooky Family, Seth's Daily Podcast, Justin Chalk Junkie, and the guys over here to Chew Bubblegum. I believe that's got it all for this week. What do you think?
and if you like the videos, hit the like button, subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
We would like
Yep.
to grow this a little bit.
Yeah, hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and hit the notification bell. You can follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, Anchor. Also, send your I forgot to tell you the email address, paranormaltrucker@yahoo.com. Send us your emails, your stories, whatever. We will remain anonymous unless you tell us to call you something. But I guess a little bit of I guess I'm going to send a request out here. I'm still seeking a tarot card reader, someone who knows about past life regressions, so that we can maybe pick your brain and interview you if you're willing to be interviewed, and even kind of explain the sciences or lack of sciences or faith or whatever is behind and how those particular processes work. Because
I actually have tarot cards.
So, do you really?
Well, they're in my unit. But I
Oh.
do, because I used to read mine every day. And I actually have two. I have one that's a standard tarot card, and then I have an angel tarot card. Yes.
Okay. Would you want to do the tarots for
Yes,
us?
I need to get I need to get some cards, but that's fine. I'll order some. They're not that expensive.
Alrighty.
The unit would be too hard to go dig it out.
Do what?
The unit would be too hard to dig them out.
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Yeah, because when she moved down, she brought her house, all the belongings of her house, put it in the storage unit.
So I have
another
another house.
So she's got a whole nother house.
We got a whole nother house full of stuff.
But
That's why we need a bigger house.
alrighty, but that'll do it for us. And like I said, I'm definitely looking for someone with past life regression experiences, because I want to explore and know some more about that kind of stuff.
Even a
large
big investigator or maybe a MUFON investigator. Love to speak with them.
Well, yeah, I mean, the idea is that we want to have different folks come on, so we can pick their brains, talk to them.
Oh
whatever.
yeah, that'd be cool. Get to talk to someone that actually, is more intelligent in those fields than we are.
Right. So if you are one of any of that, any unexplained stuff or paranormal stuff or whatever, Bigfoot hunters or tarot card readers or past life regression, if you are a MUFON investigator or you have experience with UFOs, have an abduction story, please contact us, paranormaltrucker@yahoo.com. And again, go give our friends a listen over on their channels, and we will see you guys next week.
And tell them Large Marge sent you.